This is Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the week of March 16th, 2020. Clearly, life as we have known it is grinding to a halt. We're being given a massive time out. And I would put to you that the way we've been going about a lot of things has hit the end of the line. And I encourage you to look at all kinds of developments happening locally in your state, nationally, internationally, from that perspective. I'm talking a lot more about all of this in a Facebook Live on Friday the 13th. So if you're hearing this before, you can join me at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the group, the Astro-Insight Lounge. I will have the link in the description box. And if you're listening to this after that, the live will be saved as a video in that group. We have 5 really big gear shifts this week straddling the equinox. So what's going on now is going to be with us for the entire season. And some of what is happening this week will be with us for the whole year. And some of what is happening this week is a coming attractions trailer for the next couple of years. So everything's monumental, everything's intense. No surprise that we cannot continue business as usual, but we are basically being given a time out. The first big gear shift has to do with communication. It returns to a softer, gentler, more confused, harder to pin down, more sensitive mode at the very beginning of the week. The planet that rules communication, messenger god Mercury, moves back into the sign of Pisces, where he spent most of his recent retrograde. This is not supportive of logical thought or reasoning. It is a mode of simply knowing, of telepathy, of being empathic, of picking up stuff from all kinds of other people, maybe not even knowingly. Watch this time for the communication and information flow to be filled with tidbits about what's going on with people you don't know, tidbits that demonstrate again and again and again the interconnectivity, the interconnectedness of all life on this planet. One big feature of the week is not pushing us to our knees, not really grinding life to a halt, simply life as we have known it to a halt. There are lots of opportunities this week. We do have a massive opportunity to take responsibility for ourselves, to suit up and show up, to put our big girl or big boy pants on, to be an adult, at least for yourself, to be mature, to be responsible. The sun at the very end of Pisces is making an opportunity link to Saturn, who is hanging out at the very last degree of Capricorn. This is a critical place. This is a possibly evading responsibility place. We're certainly seeing a separating the wheat from the chaff with this. Who's stepping up, who's claiming responsibility, who is dealing with things, and who is finger pointing. This happens right before the equinox, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, the fall equinox in the southern hemisphere, which happens on the 19th. It's a little bit early this year. Usually happens 19th, 20th, 21st. This year it's the 19th. This is when the sun enters the sign of Aries. The sun at 0 degrees Aries is also a very critical placement. This is the seed. This is the life force bursting through a being and erupting. This is coming back online, being very impulsive, being full of life, finding reasons to keep going, finding courage, finding strength, finding impulsiveness. Doesn't all of this sound appealing? As all this is building, as we are making these gear shifts, the big crystallizing change event from early January is getting reactivated. This is, of course, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened on the 12th, which brought containment and form to the big evolutionary process we were going through all of last year. I'm going to say since 2008, actually. The activation is coming from the presence and ultimate conjunction of two other bodies. Jupiter, the influence that expands everything it touches, is hanging out at the degree where this crystallizing event occurred in January. And on the 20th, Jupiter is joined by Mars, planet of action. I call him the cosmic first responder. It's the god of war, aggression, how we push ourselves forward, represents the masculine as well. Really concerted effort, really slow, forceful, moving forward on the next phase of whatever our big personal evolution was in January. Now, Jupiter is going to hang out in this basic area until early April, and Jupiter and Mars are both going to meet up with Pluto, the lord of regeneration, the lord of death and rebirth, the destroyer, the guy that rules all of the secrets and the things that are down below. Those meetings happen later, but we're feeling the buildup, and that's part of why everything is so intense. So while you're working remotely or changing your schedule, you may find yourself completely engaged in activity. I don't see anybody sitting around idly during all of this. And while that is going on, Saturn, lord of adulting, lord of structure, rules, institutions, the guy who rules governments, moves into the sign of Aquarius on the 21st. Where he will stay until the end of June. And so we're going to get the first taste of what this transit is going to mean. He moves back there in December for a few years. He always brings limitations and obstacles when he first changes signs, and it looks like this time there's going to be a huge limitation and deadening of or obligations imposed on communities, group gatherings. We're definitely getting a taste of what our next phase in relationships to our networks and our concept of government and external authority is going to be. And as Saturn is just sliding off into this airy home, which, by the way, is the traditional sign of his rulership, we have two more opportunities occurring simultaneously on the 22nd. One brings lightning strikes, insights, epiphanies. Yes, those words do in fact mean Uranus is involved somehow. An opportunity aspect between the mind of our mortal selves, of our conscious selves, and something flashing in. Startling information, shocking information, a way of looking at something that completely tilts the situation sideways. And that comes along with an opportunity aspect between the two rulers of love and creativity, Venus and Neptune. So possibly something happens that involves compassion, universal values, taking care of each other. Hey, it could happen. Or just little tiny ways of seeing God around you or expressing something divine, kind, compassionate, in your own life. I have nearly 45 more minutes of information about this in my talk about the Aries equinox, which is a download available at my site empowermentunlimited.net. Homing thought of the week. This comes from the author Tasha Silver. Let everything that needs to go, go. Song of the week. It's the End of the World as We Know It by R.E.M. And also, hi ho, it's off to work we go from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And the image of the week is digging for buried treasure. You'll find lots more about all of this at my site, empowermentunlimited.net, where you can sign up for my mailing list and book a session with me. I have lively discussion ongoing on Facebook at Empowerment Unlimited and the group, the Astro-Insight Lounge. There's lots of bonus content at patreon.com/Kathy Beal. You'll find me on Instagram at @KABeal and on YouTube at The Professional Aquarian Channel. Talk to you next week.